The first time we did the dig, which was right after the pandemic, and I felt the one thing that we can do is break bread and share stories, which we really need to do. So we did 15 consecutive Wednesdays. We broadcast live from this room. We're not broadcasting live now. We decided that that was a beast that we just didn't need, but we're still documenting and recording it. And the first series was all about Pueblo's great stories. And some of Pueblo's great stories, in fact, some people have passed away since then. So I'm really glad that we were able to archive it. We received very generous support from the Colorado Housing and Finance Authority and the City of Pueblo for this series. And my motivation was, I'm frustrated personally with what's going on in Washington, D.C., what's going on in Denver, and also local politics. And I thought we need to just get some young voices front and center and share their stories. Because I just want to retire. I just want to retire, sit on my porch, and watch all these young people do great things for our community. So that was the motivation. And it's really interesting to go back and actually watch these videos. We actually are creating curriculum because the first series are really rooted in not only great stories, but in a lot of the thought leaders and experts on those stories. And some of you I know who are here for that first series, but we're creating teaching modules now because D60 and D70 have actually asked us, how can we use these stories in our classroom? And I worked on the film when I was on the board of directors at the Steelworks Center. If you've never seen Forging the West, this is Jim Havey. He's like the Ken Burns of Colorado, but this is really, I think, the only and the best film on CF&I, on Colorado Fuel and Iron. It's a beautiful film, but what we did is we actually created modules in advance, and the film was structured so that you could break the film down into different parts. So that was done for junior high school and high school classes, and in fact, you can go to the website and just download those open source materials, and they're really, really helpful. And just, if you don't know what you don't know, I mean, these kids graduate. I mean, I work at with fifth graders on the South Side, and the first question I ask is, who understands, who knows the history of this neighborhood, and whose family members actually worked here, and do you even know what your grandfather did or your great-grandfather? So we go into those conversations, and then they realize that all of this happened right here in the neighborhood where their school is. So I'm really excited to welcome Molly Cotner to the Dig series. I met Molly. I'm also adjunct faculty up at CSU Pueblo in media and entertainment. And I've taught public relations, I've taught managing creative talent, I've taught a lot of different courses, marketing and advertising. And then I grew up in Japan, so I got to teach a Japanese film course this last semester. And it was fantastic because the students came from all over the campus. And I was so curious to see who was interested in Japanese film and why. I just happened to start my journey when I was in first grade, and it has gone on since that time. And in fact, I'm taking a sabbatical now to publish a book on the intersection of Zen Buddhism and quantum physics. And it's a guidebook on how to navigate chaos in the universe, which is exactly what we need right now. But Molly and I met because Molly was doing work with the media and entertainment department. And this was before you had finished your master's at NYU in journalism. But Molly is actually in the sociology department. And there were just a lot of similarities in the way that we thought, the way that we like to bring people together, the way that we like to share stories. And Molly has become a great writer for us at the Pueblo Star-Journal. I should have brought the March issue, which, in fact, where is Chantal? So this is an amazing story that was on the cover of the Pueblo Star-Journal, which is Give Me Shelter. And Chantal Woodyard is on our board of directors, but Chantal's story is probably one of the hardest stories in the world to listen, to read, to even just visualize. I mean, it includes everything that you would never wish upon another person, especially a child. But Chantal navigated all of that. And then just a few years ago, she found in her grandparents, the home that she lives in here in Pueblo on West Street, she found in the basement her original journals, because she not only wrote lyrics, but she also wrote these journals, and she found them. And all of a sudden, something that had been put aside, forgotten, all of a sudden she was reading her own words, her own stories, and things that she had wanted to forget. But she wrote a screenplay called Give Me Shelter, which I'm really excited. Out of 10,000 submissions to Series Fest, she's in the top 5. And so we are so excited for this. But Molly and Chantal actually met for the first time. I introduced the two of them because I really wanted to tell the story. And it lasted 5 hours. And we just finished a podcast, which it's on the back of this, the Voices of Pueblo podcast. I sit down with both Chantal and Molly, and we go through this whole story. And it's going to continue. So it's just another part of an ongoing story. But Molly and I just started a new column for the Pueblo Star Journal, which is unique because when we started this paper about 3.5 years ago, which is a legacy paper, this paper used to be part of this news kind of empire here in Pueblo, where the Chieftain was the morning paper and the Star Journal was the evening paper. So long before radio and TV, families actually sat down, and the evening paper was the beloved paper. It was the soft news. It was this lifestyle. So we still, to this day, get people sending us photographs of them sitting with their grandparents or their aunts and uncles reading an issue of the Star Journal. So when we started this, we really wanted to embrace that legacy, but we also wanted to take it into new directions. So we do print monthly. It's hyperlocal nonprofit. It's free of charge. Every article is evergreen. So you can pick up the first issue and the current issue, and they are just as timely as they were when they were first put out. And we're really proud of that. Then we added our website. We're actually getting 80,000 visitors a month to our website. We're one of the busiest websites in the city. So we're leveraging that. The podcasts were an extension for us to take the cover story or other stories beyond the print. And then later this year, I'm really excited. We have started a program called Mojo. It's mobile journalism. It's in the voice of Lucky the horse. He's our mascot, and he really tells us the story because he has been over decades sitting in windows watching Pueblo go by. So the best storyteller. So we tell the story of everything that we're doing with this, but we're going to be creating 2 to 5 minute video news broadcasts. And we're getting young people and seniors. We're going to try to get them to team up, and we're going to be doing a Mojo. It's a 2-day boot camp this summer because all of our neighborhoods, we want ambassadors so that they can tell us the stories right from their sidewalks in their neighborhood. So we're going to teach them how to build their own kit with their own smartphone. We're going to make them do everything that they would need to do technically, but we're really going to push them on the writing, on the storytelling, on the storyboarding, because I don't care. That is the essential part. It doesn't matter where you are. For us, it's all about stories. So there are just some kids and others who are just really gifted in sharing stories. We want to make that opportunity a safe place for them to come with their stories, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a written story, or whether it's video. And so I know Justin's going to be helping us out with that. Andy Cohen, who just finished 21 years at KOA 5, he started writing for us. He's going to be helping out on the video news broadcast. Sam Ebersol, who is retired from CSU Pueblo, he's an Emmy Award-winning filmmaker, and he and Justin worked together on that flood documentary. Molly's going to be working with us, but it's going to be an intensive 2-day boot camp where you're really going to dig into storytelling, and the skill sets are universal. I tell all my students the one thing that you need to leave the university with is the ability to express yourself, to tell your stories in an authentic and genuine voice. I know Constance is up at the university too, and is very well informed and creates these amazing tutorials for all of us in how to do a better job in our field area of journalism. Well, I'm finished talking right now. I can talk on and on. But do get the March issue, and you can get them online too. We're also going to be launching a mobile app very soon. It's called mypsj.org, where you can actually curate your own custom feeds so that if you like the arts first or if you like sports, you can prioritize those. So we're just trying to meet everyone where they are. So stay tuned. And then the dig, this event that you're experiencing tonight, this is something that I'm going to gift to the Pueblo Star Journal. So starting next year, it will actually be a formal part of the Star Journal, and it'll be extension, it'll be community outreach, education. We just feel it's the perfect fit. So thank you for supporting, and I'm going to turn it over to you, Molly.
Oh, goodness.
And there's Hershey Kisses on some of the tables, and there's a big bowl of Hershey Kisses because as soon as she started talking about love as a change agent, we got to have a lot of Hershey Kisses. So.
Or in chocolate, right?
Thank you, Molly.
I want to start before we begin anything. First of all, I got my whole speech up here, so please just go with me. They don't have a podium, so I'm going to hold on to it. But I just want to start with an acknowledgement first that we are currently on the unseceded ancestral lands of the Ute, Arapaho, Comanche, and Cheyenne nations. I am grateful to be a guest here, and I recognize that acknowledgement alone is not enough. And so I stand in solidarity with Indigenous communities in their ongoing fight for sovereignty and for justice and for land back. So I want to say that I am humbled to be here tonight. I keep saying like I'm waiting for somebody to come out with that hook, and pull me off. Because I don't know that I'm necessarily this leader, but I appreciate it, and I thank so much for just all of you being here. And I mean, whenever they offer a sociologist an hour to have a soapbox, I'm gonna take that sucker, Right? So I want to first say truly thank you for being here. Thank you for taking up your Wednesday night, especially to be here and just giving this space to this conversation in particular. Just by showing up, you are engaging in love. And honestly, that's kind of the whole point of this talk. I want to start, though, and I promise we'll get into it, I promise. There is a method to my mayhem. So me and my students are in the room tonight. I promise I didn't incentivize this in any way. But I want to start with thank yous because I just think, right, specifically as a sociologist, we understand that you are just never isolated in your journey, right? That you are a just grouping of all of the people and institutions and identities that have socialized you along the way. And officially, we call those agents of socialization or socializing agents, but you are not here for a lecture tonight. You are not, and again, so many of my students are like, no, do not. She's got a PowerPoint, and she said socializing agents. I'm done, So, but I just want to spend a moment, first and foremost, on that people part. The ones that have made such an incredible impact on my life and why I'm here. Many of you are in this room right now, so many of you. I'm gonna cry. So I'm gonna be honest with you, like right now, I was like, I'm gonna get through this without crying, but I'm not. So I just wanna let you know that. So I wanna start with acknowledging all of you. I will try to keep it short, but just like any good kid, I always gotta start with my mama. Right, so it's right here. Right, I mean, you have to, is what a good kid does, So if you have not met this woman, you are missing out. She not only raised me, but she is someone that I admire in so many ways. My mom is an OG hippie. She was an activist who sang me anti-war folk songs as lullabies when I was a child, you know? And so she shared so many of her stories with me about disrupting systems and social change, stories that I probably should not share here. She taught me to fight for what is right, to care for people. I'm sure that she was not planning on being this crazy, and she's constantly telling me not to fight with people. But I could go on and on and on, but if you want to know where it starts here. To my husband, who is currently home with my baby, and he's not a baby, he's 8, but he is still my baby. You know, he is just, he's my partner and somebody who has truly showed me what a partner should be, and those are the kind of things that only oftentimes exist in fairy tales. And to my son, who makes me want to fight for a better world, who taught me exactly what love is supposed to be, and he's just made me a better person. To my sister, my baby sister, who is also with them. For those of you who don't know, my baby sister has Down syndrome, and she is my biggest hero and my biggest inspiration, but not because she has Down syndrome, because she just truly is a remarkable human being. She also didn't come tonight, though, because she's totally sick of hearing my crap. And she, you know, she's like, I hear this all the time. I just don't, you know. To my other sister, who, not by birth, but that you might as well have been, you are my rock. And someone, oh, see, I'm already starting. We got to do that. You have no idea how you changed my life. To the kids who are now adults, who call me mom, they will be featured heavily in this talk. And you have no idea how you changed my life. To the people who are my colleagues and my friends, they're kind of around here. You are people who have believed in me and mentored me. You've told me that I was never too much. You've let me vent, probably more times than you care to have let me vent. You have fought for me and with me, and you continue to do that. And you've allowed me to be me, and I am a troublemaker. So that takes a lot. To my students, past and present, every single day you inspire me. I learned just so much more from you than you could ever learn from me. And so I just want to say thank you for being here tonight. To my former professors in the room, so Justin, who taught me to be a critical thinker and still goes to lunches with me and still teaches me and is still challenging me to be a critical thinker. Thank you. To the people that I have just met, I am rooting so incredibly hard for you. To the people who have shared their stories with me, I just want to say thank you. I'm honored to know you. Thank you for allowing me to tell your stories and to walk alongside of you with that. For Gregory, who has let me express those stories and also has never held me back, who constantly tells me how much he believes in me, and he also fights for me. Those words and those actions mean more than you will ever know. To the others in the room that I have not met, thank you for showing up and holding space. And here is why I do this first. I want to say it out loud that I love you fiercely. If you know me even a little bit, you know that I often say, I love you, whether it's in a text message or whether it's just in passing or we're giving each other a hug or whatever that is. And I say it because I mean it. And I say it because I don't think we say it enough. Somewhere along the way, we have created a culture that makes love twisted and perverted And I am on a quest to redefine that word into something that is normalized and moving toward justice. So tonight, I'm going to talk about love, not just as a feeling, but as a foundation, a tool, a radical strategy. And I want to talk about love as a framework for building community. So this quote right here is by the late and great Bell Hooks. If you don't know who Bell Hooks is, she was an author and an activist and a civil rights leader and a feminist and all of the just like the amazing things that we can talk about. If there was something social justice, she did it. And she's somebody I greatly admire. She talked a lot about social issues and justice and community and a whole lot of other things. So I'm going to be referring to her a lot tonight because she really is just that damn good. And many of the themes that I'm going to be talking about echo what she has said. And I think that we always need to just give credit where credit is due. She was doing this work long before this talk ever happened. So here she says, when we choose to love, we choose to move against fear, against alienation and separation. The choice to love is a choice to connect, to find ourselves in others. And I want you to think about what that quote means, what it means to you and how you walk through your life. I want you to look around the room and see how you connect with the others around here, because you do, you connect with each other. This here is community. Now I want to give you that anecdote now. The way in which I have seen this quote play out in real life and how I learned what a community of love really is. So in 2019, I met a group of kids who would change my life forever. Stand up, stand up. Okay, you can sit down now. So through a friend and a colleague, I had the opportunity to teach in a high school full-time as a college professor. That's kind of a big deal. It's a concurrent enrollment program. And if you know anything about concurrent enrollment programs, it's where high school students can concurrently go to high school while they're going to college. But this one was a little bit different. They were pretty innovative. See, we became actual employees of the district. And so we got to teach our college classes every single day through Pikes Peak State College. And we got to, just like immerse ourselves all day long with our students, which is unique. And having only been teaching for a year and a half at that point, they offered me a salary and benefits. And I was like, sign me up. But you see, this high school was different. It was Sierra High School in Colorado Springs' Harrison School District 2. It's one of two high schools in the district. I'm surprised nobody's like, Sierra, right? And it was branded by the local community as the bad school. And it was mostly done through media, right? In fact, when I had told people that I was going to teach at this school and I was going to start working there, the response was something along the lines of like, oh, you're going to be Michelle Pfeiffer in Dangerous Minds. I mean, it was really just like a disgusting remark. But Sierra had a reputation. And it wasn't like I hadn't taught classes before there. I had, as an adjunct professor, I had taught there, but it was only just like once or twice a week, and it was only for just one semester. I was never fully kind of immersed in this. But I was bound and determined that I was going to go into this school and I was going to teach these kids. I loved the idea of working with this population. I was an expert, and I was going to go in and save them. I know how gross that sounds. I know my sociology students are like, stop it. But love demands honesty. And I think that was my mindset at the time. But my mama always says karma has a funny way of kind of kicking you in the butt, right? And what happened is that I didn't save anyone. They saved me. You see this group right here, right? They were a family. They were a community. Many of them had grown up together. They had a shared history. Even if it wasn't a direct history, it was a history collectively experienced through things like racism and poverty and gang violence, police harassment and brutality, the school to prison pipeline. The list goes on. For the most part, they were all first-generation college students just trying to make it to graduation and then get their associate's degrees. And they traveled together as a cohort in this program. And in a moment, I'll tell you exactly what distinguished them as a community and how it relates to bell hooks and this talk. But here is the thing. What was obvious, and it was painfully obvious, is that I did not fit. Not right away, anyway. They smelled the imposter in me a mile away. I walked into that room on the first day full of my degrees and my lesson plans, and man, were they like, okay, and? Right? They let me know it, right? Definitely let me know it. After just 1 week, I turned to my colleague, and I already referred to her, my sister here, right? And I said, I can teach all of my other students, but I cannot teach these ones, right? I'm sure you remember that. They challenged me every single one of those 90 minutes, every single day. And I took it personally. I felt so disrespected. I thought, don't they see me? Don't they know how hard I've worked to be here? Don't they know I just want to help? But the truth is that they actually did see me. They saw right through me. And what they showed me, whether they knew it or not, was that if I wanted to be part of their community, I couldn't show up as some curated version of myself. I had to redefine who I thought I was and who I thought I needed to be. I had to be honest, and I had to be real, and I had to be in it with them. I had to be connected. They taught me through their resistance and their pushback and their honesty what the cornerstones of real community are. So much of how I teach and how I engage and how I see the world today was through and because of them. I won't tell you how I finally got into that community because it was hard work, and I don't think that there was just one defining moment. I think it was probably like a whole lot of come to Jesuses on both ends, right? But once I was in, I figured it out, what made them special. They had at the center, at the very foundation of their community, and it was love. You see, they could fight with one another, and they could get mad, and they could disagree, and they could dislike each other, and it happens. They'd come in, like I'm gonna tell you, right? But no one messed with that community. They loved each other. And together, they did incredible things. They took on injustice in their school. They went to the superintendent of their school and their principal, and they talked about racism and discrimination. They spoke to a senator who was in a race for Senate about police brutality, and they read her their own experiences with social injustice. And they did this at 16 and 17 years old. Like, I was not doing that at 16 or 17 years old, right? And they're all grown up now. But it's been enlightening to me just how that community is still together. Most of them have actually fallen out of touch. But when I made the announcement that I was going to do this talk and I wanted them there, and mind you, it was like on an old Facebook chat group that we had. And I want you, again, the fact that they even entertained me on a Facebook page, right? So many of them said, absolutely, I'm coming. Some couldn't because they are adults now and they have families and they have careers, but they all responded. And we spent a few moments about a week and a half ago when I showed them these pics. And we reminisced. And I already knew that I was going to use them in this speech, but it was just a reminder of the power of love and how that's just so important for building community and how it sustains it. Now, I know people get uncomfortable when we bring love into public spaces, into classrooms and boardrooms and neighborhoods. But bell hooks reminds us that love is an action, never simply a feeling. And we take love seriously, not the warm and fuzzy version, but the radical kind. Community transforms. And that brings me to the core of what I want to unpack with you all tonight. The cornerstones of community. The things that these people taught me through every challenge and every moment of truth and every piece of resistance that made me better. And I realize that there's more than one up there, okay? Let's just call it a corner block for just a minute, okay? But the first thing I want to talk about is that love is care, love is belonging, and love is solidarity. Now, I know separately these words carry their own meanings. Don't come for me, wordsmiths in the rooms, my English colleagues over here, right? I know that. But together they do something bigger. They rewrite the narrative. They disrupt the norm. They build on each other. They are not soft concepts. They are radical acts of resistance in a world that is built on isolation and extraction and hierarchy. So let's start with care. To care for one another means I see you. It means we show up, not just when it is convenient, not just when it makes us look good, but consistently. We check in, we hold space, we respond to need, not out of obligation, but out of love. And that can look different depending on capacity, but it holds the same kind of idea. And care doesn't just move outward. It also means we care for ourselves, that we rest, that we draw boundaries, that we respect when others need time or space. Care is not performed, care is practiced. And then we come to belonging. And I mean real belonging. Not just being tolerated or allowed to exist on the edges, but being welcomed and valued and trusted. Belonging is when you don't have to earn your place. It's not conditional. It's not contingent on being perfect. It's not, you can stay as long as you don't make waves. Belonging says, you matter exactly as you are. But it's more than just having a seat at the table. Belonging means being able to take the lead at that table. It means your voice is not only heard, it is trusted and it is followed. And for that to happen, those of us with privilege, whether it is based on race, gender, education, ability, whatever it is, sometimes, and I'm gonna say actually most of the time, we need to take a step back, to listen more than we speak, to make room not just for presence, but for power to shift. Because community isn't built on everyone getting equal airtime. It's built on creating the conditions for the ones most often silenced to lead. That's the kind of belonging that transforms a room. That's the kind of belonging that builds justice. And then there is solidarity. And because real community doesn't just care about people, it stands with people. Hooks says, love cannot exist in any relationship that is built on domination and coercion. This is where things shift. It means we build together. It's not about saving people. It's not about charity. It's not about walking in, telling them what they need to know. It's about shared humanity, showing up and giving and receiving in a way that honors everyone's dignity and lived experience. It means we don't assume that knowledge only flows from one direction, from teacher to student, or from parent to child, from the one with credentials to the one with potential. Solidarity recognizes that everyone in a community has something to offer and something to learn. It's not just collaboration, it is interdependence. It's refusing the myth of a self-made anything. And it's definitely not transactional. There isn't a I give and now you owe me. You accept people in whatever way that they can show up, because that's how solidarity works. It meets people where they are, not where we expect them to be. But to live in solidarity, we have to confront the hierarchies that we have internalized. Those of us used to being asked or looked at as helpers or leaders or the knowledgeable ones, we have to look at ourselves and we have to ask, am I really practicing solidarity if I can't receive help? If I can't be corrected? If I can't share power? If I can't learn? Solidarity means releasing control, and I have to tell you, I'm a Leo, and that is so hard for me to do. It means trusting others to lead. It means recognizing that sometimes the most loving thing we can do is to listen and to learn and to let go of needing to be the center. Again, it's very hard for Leos. It's not weakness. It's love with humility. Because in a real community, no one holds all the answers. And no one is meant to carry the load alone. All right, I promise you, I'm moving through. So it leads me to my next cornerstone that I have learned, and that's transparency. And let me be real, this is uncomfortable. Because transparency means letting yourself actually be seen, not the filtered version, not the polished, I have it all together version. I'm talking about the real, the raw, the messy, in progress version of yourself. As an educator, I often find that this is where we, as teachers or professors, this is where we lose our students, because we don't let them see us as humans. We hide behind our credentials and our expertise and our imposter syndrome. We hide behind our need to be important. And it's something to think about because it's all related to power. Transparency says, I am going to tell the truth even when it is awkward, even when it makes me vulnerable, even when it scares the hell out of me. And listen, we love to say that we want authenticity in community, but do we really want it when someone's voice shakes? Or when someone admits that they don't know? Or when someone says, I'm still learning? Transparency asks us to build community not just around people's strengths, but around their honesty. It also says that I expect transparency from you too, that I deserve to have honesty given to me. And this doesn't mean you have to be mean, but it does mean that when someone walks into your space, like I did with that class, and they're not authentic, you call them out on their shit. It's how trust gets built. It's how belonging becomes real. It's how we begin to move toward justice. Because here is the thing. Love without truth, that's just comfort. And comfort doesn't challenge systems. It doesn't push the status quo. But transparency does. It reminds us that we must be comfortable with the uncomfortable. When we tell the truth, we tell it about who we are, what we've been through, and most importantly, probably the most important thing, is what we are complicit in. Because that's when we can truly look in the mirror, and that's when we begin to shake those foundations. Transparency is personal, but it is also political. And I am not talking about our government's idea of transparency, because that is not honesty, that is propaganda. Transparency is the opposite of that. It is a first step towards collective liberation. It's not just about confessing our mistakes or showing our soft side. It's about disrupting the silence that systems depend on. It's about being the one that causes the problems. We should be proud to be troublemakers. To make people go, oh, there they go again. The one that people say, don't cause any trouble, and we say, what fun would that be? Because oppression thrives in silence, in looking the other way. Because when we practice transparency in our relationships, in our institutions, in our leadership, we're not just being honest, we're breaking patterns. We're interrupting power. And man, do we need to interrupt power. And when enough of us do that, that's when liberation becomes possible. That's how movements are born. That, my friends, is protest. So let's talk about the next thing that is even more uncomfortable than transparency. Let's just get into it, right? And that is accountability. Because if love is going to mean anything, it has to matter when things get hard. Love without accountability, that is not love. That is enabling, and that is how harm festers. And accountability without love, well, that's just punishment. That is public shaming dressed up to look like social justice. Real accountability, it sits in the tension between the two. Accountability means you can tell me the truth about how I have impacted you, and I can hear it, even if it stings, even if I wasn't ready to hear it, even if I didn't mean it. I often tell my students, they can probably just recite it for you. I say, it's not about the intent, it's about the outcome. And accountability means you have to think it through. That you have to say, this is my intent, but what could the outcome be? And how is it going to impact people? And am I ready when things don't work out? It also means that we commit to naming harm. You're going to hear me say that a lot because I think it's so relevant right now. It's one of the most important things that we can talk about when we look at community and justice. This is not bullying or bashing or shaming. This is saying an injustice is happening to people and we've got to stop it. Even if that injustice does not impact you, because it's going to impact you. It's going to, right? It means getting the facts and doing the right thing. When you leave this earth, no one is going to remember the person who said, I'm just going to stay here and I'm going to stay back and I'm going to be neutral. No, history. I'm talking the good history, right? It remembers those who hold people to account. That's the social justice part I don't think we talk enough about. Justice isn't just policy change or protest signs, even though that is so important. It is how we live, how we love, how we show up in our community when things go sideways. It's how we refuse to let harm fester and how we also refuse to throw people away. Because in a loving community committed to justice, we don't just not forgive people for being human. Instead, we should challenge them. We need to teach them, stand beside them, invite them into something better, and we need to invest in their change. But let me be very, very clear. Accountability does not mean taking abuse, nor does it mean we don't call out power that harms. Accountability means that we call out all the BS and we do it loud. It means we create lines and we create boundaries and we fight for those. It means we walk away sometimes and we don't look back. Because those boundaries and those lines, those are love. Letting go is love. Sometimes the most radical thing that we can say is, I believe in your healing and your liberation, but you can't be in this space until you take responsibility for your actions. We can care about someone's growth without sacrificing our own safety or our own values. Because in a community rooted in love, we don't confuse collective humanity and human rights with unfettered access. And we don't confuse compassion with proximity. And that kind of love, that is social justice in action, in practice, in motion. Okay, I have one more cornerstone. But I'm not done yet. I mean, again, they gave me a soapbox. I'm here. The last one that I learned is that love is revolutionary and radical. And I know I've said this before, but I want to dig into it. This is not Valentine's Day. I've heard people talk about sociologists and DEI and social justice experts. My colleagues in the room, you've heard this so many times, that we peddle a woke agenda, a liberal ideology, or my favorite, personally, we're too political, as if somehow that is a bad thing. I'm sure there's a few others we could share that I've missed. Like I have any time for an agenda. You should see my grading backlog. Okay? And I love to know where these like world domination meetings are happening, if you could let me know, right? Global domination, right? But I think what they're really saying is that we scare them because we call out power and we demand revolution. That we are radical because we actually do have an agenda. And it's called empathy. How can love be anything else than revolutionary? Not metaphorically, but truly, deeply, politically revolutionary. Because love, real love is not neutral. It's not passive, and it is not quiet. I don't care what Hallmark says. Love disrupts, and it dismantles, and it demands. We live in a world built on disconnection and disposability. So when we choose to love radically and openly without shame or apology, we are refusing to play by the rules of oppression. Think about it. What are we taught that love is? That it's romantic and it's private, that it is conditional, and that love should be earned. But what if instead we defined it in another way? What if we defined it as public and communal and unshakable? What if we defined it as unconditional in our humanity? When we love, and I mean truly love, we refuse to accept the systems that tell us that some people are worth more than others. We reject racism and we reject ableism. We reject misogyny and transphobia and poverty and isolation. We say, no more. Not in our communities, not here. And here is the thing. Revolutionary love doesn't just resist the systems, it builds something new in their place. It says we're not waiting for the institutions to fix themselves because they are not going to fix themselves. They are working exactly how they were designed. When we're building community, we need to do it right here and right now. We need to do it with our care and our honesty, with our boundaries, with our stories, and with our fierce, unapologetic love. So if anyone ever tells you that love isn't serious enough for social justice, I hope that you look them in the face and you say this: love is the only thing that can hold all of this pain and still dream of something better. That's the revolution. So before I want to wrap things up tonight, I know I can just keep saying I'm going to wrap things up, okay? I want to talk to you about something that has been running through all of this, from the very beginning of this talk to this very moment. And it's actually the tagline of this whole DIG series, and it's something I hold really close to my heart, and that is storytelling. See, I don't think storytelling is something separate from the other cornerstones that I've talked about tonight. It's in every single one of them. Storytelling is how we practice care, how we build belonging, how we make space for things like transparency and accountability. You've heard me tell stories tonight about my students, about my family, about the people who raised me and challenged me and changed me. But I want to be very clear, that wasn't just for flavor. It's the work. And maybe that is just the sociologist in me because we love stories. But it's the juicy stuff, right? It's the connection and the humanity. It's the stories. Because again, love, community building, justice-seeking love can't exist without stories. Stories are how we understand each other. They're how we build empathy and interrupt stereotypes and make people visible again. In every community I have ever been a part of, especially the most radical, the most loving, storytelling was at the center. It's how we grieve, it's how we organize, it's how we remember, and it's how we dream. As I mentioned early on, I have had the privilege of telling other people's stories and holding them with care and walking beside them through that storytelling. Javier and Chantal. Right, Chantal Gregory talked about Chantal's story. And again, when I met Chantal, I did not know her. We met, we sat down at a table, and I asked questions, probably way too many questions. Right? But she gave me so much of herself, willingly. And she let me tell her truth in public on the cover of the Pueblo Star Journal. Like, I want you to think about how brave that was. We have since become really good friends. And I know, journalists in the room, yes, you can become friends with your subjects. And it's not because of the story that was some shiny cliche that we often hear on the news. It was because we walked through it together. We cried a lot. We held space.
I walked in there, Molly, with all my professionalism, and we're going to talk about disability, and it was really the way you asked the questions too that opened me up
I don't
to
think.
the conversation we ended up having.
Well,
Thank you.
I think that it's more so because you changed me, right? You allowed me to be a part of it and to invest in it. And I wasn't there for many of the things that she went through. Shameless plug, if you have not read her story, you should, because it is heart-wrenching and it is beautiful in a way that I cannot describe. And it is not because of what I wrote. It is because we did the storytelling together. We did it out of love and we did it out of respect. And when she texted me recently about something big that had happened to the monster in her story, I felt it in my bones. Like it was my celebration too. And I think maybe it was. Because that's what see, I'm crying, I'm just crying, okay? Because that's what storytelling does. It weaves us together. It requires us to walk with another person and to exist in their humanity and to be with them. You become responsible for something other than yourself. I am grateful to the Pueblo Star Journal for letting me do that there is a concerted effort in this paper to build community and to build justice and to tell authentic stories, because that is not found in my NYU journalism classes, right? Because storytelling is nothing but love, or at least I think it should be. Storytelling ultimately becomes justice, and there just is no community without it. Okay, we made it. So now what? What do we do with all of this? How do we take these cornerstones and this radical kind of love and bring it into our own messy, complicated, beautiful communities? Well, we have to do the work. That sucks, I know. It's not just the big and flashy revolutionary work, though yes, let's organize and let's march and let's dismantle because the activist in me demands that. But it is also in the small, quiet, daily work. The checking in and the making space, the listening, the letting go, the showing up, like so many of you did. And sometimes it looks like warm sourdough bread straight out of the oven. My mom bakes sourdough. And when it is fresh, the world just feels better. Like for a moment, everything slows down and the whole world comes to the table and it just enjoys. Because food does that too, let's be honest, right? That's a whole nother dig talk, right? That's love. It's not performative. It's not transactional. Just love, shared, simple, and sacred. Because this is what I have learned. Community is not something that you just stumble into or try to bulldoze your way in. It's not something that just happens. It's something that you build intentionally, imperfectly, with love as your foundation. And we have to redefine what love is. Not as something private or romantic, but as something public and brave. As the framework for how we live and how we lead. So here is my call to you. Start small and lead with love. Interrupt injustice wherever you see it, especially if you see it within yourself. Be transparent and be accountable. And for the love of community, tell your story. Then sit back and listen to someone else's. Because that's where it begins. And I want to end with where this whole journey really started. And it was with these kids. They're not kids anymore, I know. The ones who let me in. The ones who didn't challenge me, they changed me. The ones who taught me that love isn't just a theory or hearts and words on a slide. It is practice. It is fight. It is a choice. They showed me what love looks like and how it can build something real, especially when you love fiercely and even when it is hard. To do this, especially when the world underestimates you. They built community before I ever knew what it really was. They lived it and they let me be a part of it, and now I get to live it too. And so tonight, this talk, this moment, this message, it is for them. It is for my students. Oh, it is for all of you, because we deserve better, because we can build something better. And I think it starts with love. So thank you.